Hi, I'm Yogesh.
Hey Jason,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great.
That's my daughter, and
Hi,
that's
nice to meet you.
she's
Nice.
just helping me to set it up. Yes, I'm just going to
No,
let her set it
no,
up.
no problem. Take your time,
All
please.
right, thanks.
Could you let me share the screen?
Yeah, just a moment. I will make you the host, co-host. Okay, done. Okay, perfect.
What will be done?
Is there any audio?
No
No.
audio.
Okay. What is the first slide?
Just a second. One second. Where did that video go? Now I remember. Share screen, advanced portion of the screen. We are going to the PowerPoint, right?
Double click on it.
Why isn't it coming? Okay, thank you. Okay, done.
Go to the first slide. Yeah.
There you go. I can't hear. Oh, he's mute anyway. Here you go.
Okay, perfect.
Just
Like a notification.
so when I have to go down, I just click the next arrow, right?
You just click here. And
Okay.
all they can see is this.
All right.
And when you want to stop screen share, it says stop share here. Okay?
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Yogesh, is it fine if I live stream to Facebook? Is it okay with you, right?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay, perfect. So you are currently in Dubai or in India?
No, I'm very much in Dubai. Where will I fly off? You are not allowing the flights to take off from here, right?
Yeah.
No, I've been here. I haven't been to India for a while, Jason, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are joined in by Sushma also. Sushma says
Okay.
she's one of the hosts for today.
Yes.
Hi, Sushma. Welcome. Yogesh is with us.
Good afternoon, actually.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey,
Good
Yogesh.
afternoon. How are you doing, Sushma?
All good. How are you?
All well. Just 1 second. Forgive me, I'm not that very tech savvy, so you'll have to bear with me on a
No
few
problem.
things.
It's okay.
No
It's
problem.
okay.
No problem.
Zoom has completely zoomed our life right now, I guess.
Everybody is using Zoom
Yeah.
or Teams, Microsoft Teams. But I like Zoom better than Teams.
Is it? I'm actually more comfortable with the Teams, but that's probably because I've been using Teams for a while now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
Teams is really good. Even
I like Teams,
it.
yeah.
Even Zoom, I like it.
Uh-huh.
And For office, I use Teams, and for these kind of stuff, I use Zoom. So it's okay. I'm
For office,
familiar
yeah, Teams is must. Microsoft
Teams
Teams.
is better, yeah,
Yeah.
from a
Yeah.
work perspective.
Yeah.
Actually, because we've been used to using a lot of Slack, especially when it comes to the creative part of it. So we could actually get the meeting, the go-to part of it into the Slack, and that was easier to kind of integrate. But Zoom, we've had challenges.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess everyone has their own favorite brand.
True. But actually, maybe the using part, if we are using it more continuously, then we become a fan of it. Yeah. Because
True.
I don't use Microsoft Teams much. So
Okay.
maybe that's why. If I start to use it much, then I think surely I would like it.
Yeah, it's nice. It's good.
Yeah. Only thing it
Right.
is Microsoft and Hotmail account is required.
Right.
Live account is required. Sushma,
Right. So
Anita is joining in. Should I admit her or?
We'll wait for 3-4 minutes more, right?
Okay. Yeah,
I'm
Yogesh,
just
you were trying to ask something. Yeah?
No, I was asking a very general question. How has life been for you guys, and what do you see of the outlook coming up now?
Life for me, it was like normal before because every work has increased. Utility.
It has increased, huh? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Because I work in the utility business, so we are
Right.
providing electricity, water, and current for the gas for the Emirate of Sharjah.
Yeah.
So it's like they increase our timings. One of the big
Correct.
things which happened, they increase.
guys, give me 2 minutes. I'll be there.
No problem. Before we used to work like 7 to 2, and now I am working from 7 to 3. So
Okay.
yeah, even Saturdays also. So
That's
what.
actually good to hear in this current situation, right? I mean, everybody's
Yeah.
talking about reduced hours.
Yeah, but the problem is, we don't have any effect because utility business, there is no alternative for it. No.
Correct.
Seva. Everybody has to use Seva in the Emirate of Sharjah. There is no alternative.
Absolutely. No
Yeah,
choices.
the bills are not going to decrease. It is going to increase only.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's the thing. And one thing is that one. The next thing would be suppliers were stuck because of shipments were stuck in the ports. So that was one of the challenges for us because the Khalid port, we are using Khalid port much in Sharjah and Dubai, Jebel Ali.
Right.
So these two ports where we were using much most, and Sharjah airport also. And all our shipments are from Italy. So everything was stuck for 2 months. And then all the chemicals are coming from China. So again, it was stuck.
Okay.
Because the plant, the water production was affected because of the chemical non-availability of some chemicals.
Right. But now is it kind of changed?
Now it is back to normal. They lost like 1 or 2 months. It was stuck, and now it has become normal. I think March, April, May. March end and April, May. These 3 months were stuck. April, May was fully stuck. Then June it became normal, and July it's like running normal. So we don't have any much pressure right now. It's not affected that much. And the transportation, it's become free now. Alwada Road is fully free right now. There is no traffic. There is no traffic at all.
That's probably helping in your ultimate deliveries. I mean, coming in quicker, right?
Yeah, quicker because we use the Emirates Road and all. We don't use the Salik Road for incoming shipments. And also Khalid Port is nearby. So all the big tons, 40 feet containers and 20 feet containers are coming from Khalid Port.
Right.
But Sushma was working from home.
Okay, but what do you see as the outlook? I mean, the next 3 months, what do you guys feel?
I think we are going towards a big recession, the second recession. I think so.
Are we going or we are in it?
No, we are going to. It's nothing. It's just a trailer right now.
Right.
Yeah. It is just the beginning.
It's the beginning right now.
Right.
It's not good to talk about economy on a public platform like this, but
True.
But the fact is that there are some stunning figures, in front of us.
I mean, all the indicators are not pointing out to a very healthy thing in the front. But I think, in my opinion, I mean, again, probably because my mindset is innovation, I always believe that every adversity is an opportunity.
Correct.
So the whole concept of the normal is going to change. But what is the new normal? I think we are still not aware about it. And partially we are feeling this anxiety about COVID is because we still don't know what COVID is.
Some said there is no COVID. Some said there is no COVID-19. I saw today one speech, some lady posted in LinkedIn that she is working in the patent department, Indian patent department, okay? and she was challenging this Indian Prime Minister Modi and everybody. So she is telling there is no COVID because somebody has labeled COVID as a brand, to advertise and to sell something. And they are selling face masks in some branded labels and these things and stuff like that. And they are
sorry to cut you.
Yeah. Sushma.
Okay, I need to share my screen.
Yes,
so
please. I will make you a co-host.
Yogesh, if you can please stop your share.
Okay, 1 second.
And we can admit now, right?
Yeah, we can start. Okay. Yogesh, your camera is not working. Your face is not there, I think.
1 second. Let me just check.
Sushma, you can start the screen share.
Host has disabled participant screen sharing. I'm not a co-host.
Wait. Make co-host. I can't.
Yeah, I'm not a co-host.
I can't make 2 co-hosts at a time. I think
okay.
So. Only
done.
one. Yeah, done. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Today there is a different story or same story? Yeah, Yogesh, we can see you now. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
1 second.
When you're ready, just be normal and start your screen share. Huh? It's cool. No pressure. Cool. Just cool.
No, don't worry about it. It's not an examination. I hope you guys are not going to give me marks.
No, not at all.
Right.
Yeah. But we want to know from you, how was Kerry
We
Logistics?
can admit Anita, right?
Yeah.
It's already 3:58.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
I have admitted them.
Sorry, what is your question, Jason?
How was the experience in Kerry?
Kerry was good, to be very honest.
It's a big company, right?
Good.
It's a very big company.
Very large.
Altair deals with Kerry for access control systems.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, that is a different Kerry.
Oh, that's a different Kerry.
That's a different Kerry. There are a couple of companies with the same name as Kerry. You've got Kerry Foods and you've got Kerry Logistics and the other one Kerry that you're talking about. My company didn't have to do anything with them. This Kerry is part of actually a group called the Co-op Group. So if you know Shangri-La Hotels,
yes.
That's the same group. Same group. It was a good group. Unfortunately, I completely sympathize with the decision about letting people go because one is Kerry is headquartered in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And
hello, Anita. Hi, Shirley. Galaxy A70. I'm not sure if you can please rename your title. That would be great. So we can call you by your name.
Yeah.
Just go to the participant list.
Hi, Jason.
Hi. Good evening.
Hi.
How are you?
Hey, Anita. All good. How are you?
All good.
Hi, Jason.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi,
hey,
Sushma.
Akbar. Hi.
So, guys, we are going live in Facebook within 3, 2, 1. Yes, we are live.
Okay.
Yeah, Yogesh, you were telling about something, no? About the experience.
yes, I'm sorry. I was talking about Kerry. The experience was good because they were quite supportive of the entire concept of innovation and transformation in terms of the entire business. So the mandate was pretty much global. But because they are A, Hong Kong headquartered, B, their business, 68% of the business is out of China.
Oh, really? Okay.
China suffered, Hong Kong suffered. So the company was, they felt that the innovation concept was, let's kind of leave it behind and focus on survival and sustaining.
Yeah, true.
So, and I think that's a fair decision. If I had been the leader, I guess I would have taken the same call.
Okay.
So, but the good part is that, we've kept an open door policy. So we've agreed that if things go in the right direction, we will probably have a little different view of looking at it. Of course, they've kind of asked me to handle a lot of other projects. From a consultative point of view and so on and so forth. But I think it's a mindset again that once you're an employee, whether you want to be the entrepreneur or not.
Yeah, true.
But once you kind of overcome that barrier, I think life is a very different equation altogether. So
exactly.
That's
innovation is not going to stop also.
It's not going to stop.
Yeah.
I think it's a never-ending phenomenon of life. And see, difficulties and innovation are kind of poles of each other. So I don't think either of them is going to stop. It's only a matter about how you want to view it
True.
and what do you want to make with it. So that's where it's all headed to. I think this is, in my opinion, the last 6 months have been a perfect hotbed for really looking at innovation and trying to do things in a different manner.
Yeah, from a
So,
different angle. Yeah, true.
absolutely. So some have been successful, like the entire concept of supply chain. I mean, what I find it funny is, so many organizations are letting go of people, and the poor HR guys are getting the blame for it. But my point was,
Yeah, true.
we've had the fact. How come that we've suddenly realized that we really don't need so many people? So it means that the focus was not on the processes.
Correct.
Plus, I think it's also a little bit of a regional aspect where, I think in the Middle East and Indian subcontinent, we like to have more people than processes.
True.
So
It's people driven.
probably, it's people driven. I mean, we still are happy getting somebody else to go and make a tea for us rather than we just getting up and doing tea on our own.
Exactly. But in the American system, in the US in system and in the Western system, we are only making a self-service. There would be an espresso machine there, and we will go and make a tea and then come back to a desk. So that's all there. So it's Indian culture only that somebody has to make it for us.
When I was stationed in New York, and me being an Indian and kind of having gone through that Indian mentality, I had this concept of staying back after office hours. And I thought it's a great thing I'm doing. It's my commitment, my level of affection to the company. I used to work for UPS in New York, and one fine day I actually got pulled over by my boss, who said that, look, dude, you're making a mistake. We don't want you to stay beyond 4 o'clock because you're setting an example that people can stay back. Either you're not doing your job efficiently, which means that you need more hours. So if not, you just go home, or you don't have a family. And I was like, wow, this is a new angle to the whole concept. But that's how it is. I mean, both are right. There's nothing wrong about it. There's nothing right about it. It's just the way we are. And I think it matters to the cultural aspect, right?
And the organization also.
And the organization. The organizational values. Right. That's how it is.
Okay. I think let's start.
Yeah.
We are already at 4:04, so let people join in later. That's fine.
Sure.
Yes. Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the Networking and Learning Group's 13th webinar. We have been meeting earlier, which was not online. It was offline. So in person, we used to meet, but online is the 13th webinar, which is Successful Failures. Now, myself, my name is Sushma. I'm an HR generalist working in Dubai since past 16 years. The group is founded by myself and Jason. So myself, I have already introduced. Jason is an internal auditor plus quality assurance executive. He works with the government entity in Sharjah. We had started this group with an aim to network and learn and share knowledge. It basically started in 2018 December as Luncheon. Luncheon is not online, it's an offline networking, and it is still going on. We started with 6 of us, and then we moved on, and it is now renamed as Networking and Learning Group, though the Luncheon is a separate group which is still carried on all over the globe. Thank you everyone for registering and sparing your time to join in here. I'm sure we are definitely going to take away from this session by Yogesh. Just looking forward for it. It's a story time. So I would like to share a story here. There is a father and son. They are going to sell their goods. And what do they have? They have certain goods, and they go carry these goods with their donkey. Now they have 2 donkeys, and they have so many stuff to sell. So they carry those stuff on the donkeys, walking through the mountains or cities. And then there are people they meet, different cultures. So some of people started commenting. So you both, son and father, are going to sell your goods, and you use these donkeys to carry your load. You are so merciless. You don't have pity on these donkeys. You should carry the donkey. And then father and son, though son couldn't carry the donkey, father tried to carry the donkey and they walked. After some time, there were different people who were waiting for them to comment. They commented, "What kind of human are you? Are you supposed to carry donkey on yourself?" No, donkeys are there to carry your stuff. So why don't you put your stuff on the donkeys, let them carry your load, and you walk with them? And they were like amazed. Okay, now here people are saying something different. So they again changed the story. They put their load on the donkey and they started walking. After a while, the boy was tired, so he sat on a donkey, on the other donkey, and they put all the stuff on one donkey, and father is also walking with them. They met few other people who said, "You put your load on donkey and you put yourself on donkey as well." So the son is on donkey and people started commenting on that as well. And they did other way around again. The boy got down from the donkey and again they started walking. So this story goes on like that. What does this gives us? What does this tells us? What is the moral of the story? Sometimes, if it is not in our benefit, do not listen to others. We know what is right for us. If it is definitely in your favor, be it a criticism, but if it is productive, then please learn from that. Otherwise, at times we need to ignore what people say and move on with our work. So that's what the story tells us here. Let's move on. As I said, why are we here? We are here to learn, network, share knowledge. Any of you would like to impart your knowledge, would like to share your learnings with us, please feel free to do so. We are more than happy to honor you as a host here, as a speaker here. Please connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and there's a WhatsApp number where you can WhatsApp us to join our group. And please invite your family, friends who can definitely be part of this group and learn and share. Now, the rules to follow on this session. Please mute your audio. You all will be muted. And in case if you have any questions or queries, chat box is open for you. You can use chat box for your comments, questions, likes, reactions. Yogesh will be presenting this session and questions will be answered at the end. You may take notes or screenshots as you like. Now, who is Yogesh? Yogesh is today's speaker, and he's going to talk about the topic successful failures. I'm really excited to learn, to see what is in for us from the session. He's blockchain enthusiast, he's InnoMentor, data pro, and a storyteller. Wow, I like listening to stories as well. So without much wait, The platform is all yours, Yogesh. Thank you for joining in here.
Right, guys. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. That sounds good. So, good morning and good afternoon, because let's be awake.
Sorry, I will be just muting all. So if you can just unmute yourself, Yogesh.
Sure. Is that fine?
Yes.
Super. That's great. Thank you, Jason, for inviting me here and giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Sushma, for starting it with the story. And I always love a story. Stories are great conversational point of view, and they allow you to put up your points much more effectively, easy. Um, Generally, my presentations in the corporate side are a mix of technical and commercial, so they tend to be very boring. Let me be very upfront and honest about it. Please don't mind it. If you find it boring, if you feel like going to sleep, hit yourself, hammer yourself up. Simple as that, right? What I've tried to do is I've tried to keep the entire conversation very simple, very personal, because that is where really it would make a difference. So just to give you a bit of a background as to who I am and what I do, as Sushma mentioned, that I'm a blockchain enthusiast, I'm an mentor, data pro. Well, these sounds fantastic, very technical terms. But in reality, I guess I'm just as human as you are, and with a sense of passion for a few things. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself, but first I would actually want to share my screen so that I have a flow so we can go in that, if that's okay by all of you guys. Yeah. Hold on a second, please. Please bear with me.
You can see the screen, Yogesh.
Yeah, I'm just trying to adjust it.
Perfect.
Okay, so are you guys able to see the screen?
Yes, it's perfect.
Super. Okay, my question, because I'm not able to see it, can you see just the screen which is showing just the slide of successful failure, or do you see anything on the sides of it?
A journey of excellence, Yogesh Viraje.
Yes, it's only the slide we see. We don't see on the right or left anything.
Perfect, then that's fine. Okay, how do I get this side? Perfect. Okay, thank you. Thanks for bearing with me. As I said, I'm not that very technically savvy, so I had to hire the services of my daughter. I need to pay her per hour. It's quite interesting. Okay, guys, so this topic today is about successful failure. I know these are completely two opposite polar terms, but when they're conjoined and when they're together, they actually make quite a sense. And I have seen that in my own personal life, and whatever I'm going to talk about, it's based entirely on my own personal experiences, knowledge, the experiences that I've gathered from so many people that I've interacted with in my life, and so on and so forth. So that's the journey. I call it the journey of excellence because successful failure actually needs a complete 360-degree mind frame change. So it is not something that you would be able to achieve overnight. It is a process. It needs time. It needs commitment. It needs patience. All three of these put together. But most importantly, it also needs a little bit of adversity in our life, or a little bit of the ability to face challenges, right? So all of this put together, that's why I use the term as journey of excellence, and it's not just an episode of excellence. And it doesn't come to us by default, or it just doesn't come to us for the heck of it. It comes to us as a part of a much more broader scope of life, right? So who I am, my name is Yogesh, Yogesh Raje, as I would say. And what I have been doing is for the past 25 years, my strength or my professional life has been revolving around supply chain management and logistics engineering. So I am a supply chain engineer by education. So 25 years I have spent in various large organizations, which includes names like Maersk or UPS and so on and so forth. And my last position that I was holding was basically as the head of innovation and transformation for a very large global organization, which is to the tune of $100 billion plus. In addition to that, I think it's safe to say that most of us are Indians out here. So we have this innate ability in us to kind of do multiple things at the same time. So what I've also been doing is I've also been into blockchain. And that's something was very easy for me, primarily because logistics and supply chain and blockchain are kind of very similar to each other. They go hand in hand. It's very easy to understand the entire concept of blockchain. So besides being an enthusiast for the blockchain, I also hold a position as a president for the Blockchain Chamber of Commerce for the MENA region. This is a US-based non-government, not-for-profit organization focused on three things, which is adoption, awareness, and adaptation of advocacy of blockchain, right? So in addition to that, I am also involved into digitalization of the supply chain and logistics processes. So I use a lot of AI, ML, IoT, RPAs, and all sorts of things into my journey. So I have been at it for the last 5 to 7 years, very actively hands-on involved. So I'm involved into using the technology, also involved into creating the business process logic for those kind of technologies. And last but not the least, my passion is neuro and behavior science. And I am a qualified, I wouldn't call it a psychologist or a psychotherapist, but I'm certainly qualified in that area. And I like to use that to combine it with all the several other things that what I'm doing, right? And self-development, of course, remains my objective. So when I was given an opportunity to be a part of this group, I think it's exciting because there are so many brilliant, interesting people out here in this group. And, it's an opportunity for me to learn and take things much more further, right? So that's, okay. So I want you guys to actually have a look at this picture. I'm going to give you about 15 to 20 seconds to completely have a look at this picture and feel what you feel out of this. And I have a question, probably 2 or 3 people can answer that. When you look at this picture, my question is, what do you see and what do you infer from this? So if maybe just one person, probably somebody could give me an answer on this.
You are empowered.
Okay, that's a good answer. That's pretty interesting an answer. You're empowered. I think Jason, you qualified. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain this picture from my viewpoint or my personal viewpoint. It's not necessary that you all have to agree with it or you all see the same viewpoint, but nevertheless, I'm going to share as to what my viewpoint is, right? So the whole caption of this is, if you look at it, it's God knows what the motivational speakers have told this monkey, right? And when you look at it, it's a monkey with a stick and about to hit a lion. Now, obviously, in regular language, it's probably called suicide, right? But when you look at it, it's actually symbolic of a very larger concept, which is called the FOF. I call it the fear of failure. What it basically means is that it is not failure that actually deters us. It's not failure that actually creates a problem. It's the fear of failure. It's the fear that I'm going to lose my job. It's the fear that I'm going to fall down. It's the fear that, oh shoot, what if my mother finds out that I've been smoking a cigarette? So it's the fear. It's not the failure per se, actually, which really determines the anxiety attacks or the panic attacks that what we have. So in order to go ahead on this particular picture, now I would like to take the credit of this monkey being me, right? I mean, we've come from the same family, so I guess we're distant cousins. My next one is this particular line, which is a demon or an objective image that I have created in my mind of what my fear may look like, right? So this fear is a sleeping lion. It's not awake, which technically means that it will not do anything to me unless and until I do something to it. It's not going to proact. It's only going to react, right? That's the fear. And the third interesting part is this particular stick, which I call the stick of faith or confidence. So when you look at it, what exactly is this monkey trying to do? Now the monkey, obviously having listened to some of the brilliant motivational speakers like me, has decided that, okay, let me use this particular stick, which is a stick of faith and confidence, and go ahead and hit the lion in the anticipation that the lion is absolutely not going to do anything. He may be rationally right, he may be rationally wrong. That's not the point here. In this particular case, what we are trying to stick to and look at in terms of the image is basically look at how these three things play in our mind. Right now, when we look at it, these three things are very symbolic, very, very symbolic of where we are in a lot many situations. For example, we have the fear of losing our job, right? That's the fear of failure. We have the fear that, oh, what if I accept a 30% reduction in my salary? What's going to happen, right? And that fear of failure, that's where the fear of failure actually brings about a lot of panic attacks into us. Now, this can be destructive, this can be constructive. It purely depends upon how you are trained or how your attitude is all about, how you want to view the entire situation, right? But when I look at this monkey, it's a self-talk that the monkey is telling that if I trust myself and I understand that I have the abilities and the capabilities, then the fear of failure is absolutely irrelevant for me. That's the whole idea that this picture is trying to say. How do I use it in my regular day-to-day life, right? So as Sushma said that she started with a story. It is a story, and I think I would like to add on to her point, probably borrow it from her, that I would also like to say a story. Now, this story is of a blind lady, right? I have used for illustration purposes and for the better use of clarity, I have put up a picture of this lady who probably we may know, we may not know. Her name is Helen Keller. Helen Keller is an extremely well-known American. She was an American author, political activist, and a lecturer. She's written some brilliant works. She was in the late 1800th century. I mean, till the 1960s is what her age span was. Now, incidentally, she was the first deaf and the blind person to actually earn a Bachelor of Arts degree. That's very commendable about her. Okay, now this is Helen Keller because history has given her to us. We don't know so many of the Helen Kellers who are available with us in our day-to-day life. Very often we ignore them, we don't see them. Even if we see them, we don't talk about them. Even if we talk about them, we probably talk about it max to our own families, right? So there are Helen Kellers. So I'm also going to talk about a specific Helen Keller in my life, right? And this story is not about Helen Keller. I'll just use as an example. I'm repeating that again. So I would not want to call Helen Keller as blind. I'm just going to address her as visually impaired. But for practical purposes, we stick to as the blind part of it. Now, I'm going to talk about another lady, right? And this lady was and is an extremely important figure in my personal journey as far as I have seen my life. Now, she was born blind. Now, incidentally, she was born blind to a father who was a very well-renowned doctor of his own time. So imagine the amount of guilt and the feeling of failure that would have existed with the father of this particular lady. But what happened is she was born blind, and she was trying to be raised by the family. The family could not accept the condition that she has, let's call it some sort of an impairment, some sort of a deformity. Right? So the family tried their best to do all possible things to not make it obvious. But as she grew, this thing started becoming obvious, because blindness is something that you can't just, it's not like you miss a finger and you figure a way around with it, right? It takes a lot of time, a lot of determination, and I think a lot of attitude basically to come around with it. Now, as she was growing, and she started realizing that a lot of things in her life are failures. I mean, she couldn't study, she couldn't play, even if a simple act of like just jumping down from the bed down, she has no idea because she's not able to see. So she has no clue of the distance. She's not able to measure the spatial distances available. In short, she was deprived of a lot of things that what we are blessed with, that what we have, and we often take it for granted. But what happened is she went on living this life till the age of 16, and often getting annoyed and angry with her own self, with her family, the usual, why me, why my parents had to go through this, what did I do, what is my karma, blah, blah, blah. We often go into this self-talk, which is not very helpful in many cases. But she did that. Now, till the age of 16, she had a very, very difficult time. But at the age of 16, an incident happened in her life which actually made her sit down and think. And that's when a shift happened to her. First is she accepted. She accepted that she is blind. She accepted that she is an utter dismal failure so far. And she accepted that, okay, I have been deprived of so many beautiful aspects of life, which I can't take it further. So what happened with that? What she decided to do, she had two choices. Either I mean, when it's I mean her, either she decides to continue to live her life crying about it, living in pain, living in solace, living in solitude, and wondering as to blaming it on practically anybody and everybody possible, or let's accept it, let's take the bull by the horns and really work on it, right? Fortunately for a lot of people, she actually decided to choose the second option. So what she did is she said that, all right, I'm going to take a look at this particular way of life that I'm leading and see how I can change it, how I can, evolve or transform or process the entire information. So she started to make one basic change, which is she said that I'm not going to focus on my disability, but instead I'm going to focus on my ability, right? She said constantly, she kept that as a mantra to herself that, okay, let me focus on my ability. What are the abilities that I have? So she did a stock check and inventory analysis of what all abilities that she had. She had a good sense of taste. She had, perfectly healthy hands and legs. She could move, she could walk. All that she could not do was see. Now that was an impediment. So with this particular shift in her perception, she decided to change and focus completely on the ability. I repeat, she started to focus completely on the abilities and not on the disability. Now that helped her to shift into improvising her other skills. We generally have a perception that when a person is born blind, their other senses are heightened up and they are kind of well developed. Scientifically, not true. They are as normal as yours and mine are. It's just that the brain is endowed with a very beautiful gift called as neuroplasticity, which is a jazzy term for a simple term called learning, right? So the brain has this ability to continuously and consistently learn. So that's what she did. She used this particular opportunity to employ and engage into neuroplasticity and to focus on what is it that she could improvise on, what skills that she has, what she can actually work on improvising. Then she realized as a part of the entire process that, well, she could hear amazingly well. What she missed out in studying through books, she made the radio her best friend. Bear in mind, I'm talking about a phase of early 60s when television was really not existing there. She made the radio. At that time, there was a beautiful station in India called the All India Radio, which still exists, which she made her best friend, her source of knowledge. And she worked consistently on taking the knowledge and converting that into wisdom, right? And then she realized that, hey, that kind of formula works. She added to her skill set another thing. She was endowed with a beautiful voice. She classically trained herself and decided to express herself through music. Incidentally, as the time went, she was of an age of marriage and she met a wonderful man who was an artistic kind of a bent of a person who looked at life from a very imaginative point of view. So she got married to him and now she started seeing things through his eyes, what she could not see, right? But in all of this, what was her main key point is that she said, I am not going to focus or stay grounded to the fact that I do not have an eyesight. She said that to hell with it, it doesn't matter to me. They got married, they had children, and as the children grew up, she taught the kids to absolutely focus on the advantages, and she taught the children as to not to focus on sympathy. She said, do not ever engage into a sympathetic talk with your own self. The reason is because when you're sympathetic with your own self, your mind is listening. You're actually telling your mind that, hey, you know what, you have failed and it's okay. And, you should be depressed and you should not be moving up. She said, no, let all that talk go out of the window. Let's stay focused. Let's stay focused entirely on the advantages, on the skill set and your abilities. Now that's the mantra that she basically focused on. And what she did, she made fear and the adversities in her life, and believe me, there were a lot of adversities in her life. She made the use of fear and every adversity as a stepping stone, as an opportunity to create change and to achieve excellence. Her focus was, if I'm going to focus on something today, if I, let's say, for example's sake, that I don't have the ability to cook food because she's blind, bear in mind. So she said, let me figure out a way to deal with this particular situation and use the fear of failure that if I don't cook, my family doesn't eat. If my family doesn't eat, we all die of starvation. So she stopped all those potential anxiety attacks by just focusing on one thing, which is using the fear and using every adversity as an opportunity to create change and achieve excellence. Now, excellence, is something that you can achieve at the absolute, at the lowest level, and whatever that you're doing, it can be done. Now, this particular lady who I'm talking about, incidentally, happens to be my own mother, right? My own mother today, she's 83. She's fiercely independent. She has nobody to help her. She does not like the word help. She does not like the word sympathy. She cooks, cleans, counts money on her own. Usually she has a magic tree. The moment I give her money, it just disappears. But bottom line is, she's learned to be smart. She's learned to use the concept of fear, concept of adversity, concept of difficulty as an opportunity. And she's a very shrewd woman. I always tell her that, you're a very shrewd woman. But the bottom line of all of this is what I have learned in action, not through any university, but what I've learned in action is every situation can be painful if we look at it painfully. It can be difficult if we look at it difficulty. It can be very, very disastrous if we consider disaster to be the outcome. We don't have to really think on all those terms. What we need to do is we need to focus ourselves and re-engage ourselves into a different area. So she gave me a particular mantra, which I would like to mention out here, is she made, like Helen Keller, she made optimism her strength. She rather focused on the, she did not focus on the eyesight. She did not believe in the hindsight as in the past, but she said what is most important for anybody to succeed in life is a mindset, right? So exactly as the Helen Keller quote says, that if you're blind to, in life, and you have no sight and no vision, then you're not really going to achieve anything. And don't take any impediment in your life as an obstruction. Each obstruction is an opportunity. Each problem is absolutely a hotbed for creativity. Every situation in your life is an opportunity to innovate, is an opportunity to do something different. I'm sure many of us in today's date are experiencing job loss. Me personally, I am, but it hasn't deterred to me. It hasn't really worried me, for a simple reason, because I see this adversity as another opportunity. It's for me to work on things. It's just an opportunity for me to look at what kind of skill sets do I have, right? Now, what I did is based on the teachings that I had from my University of Life, I created a different formula. I'm sure everyone here knows practically what IIT stands for. IIT stands for the Indian Institute of Technology. Well, the moment you think about IIT, you associate that with creativity, you associate that with excellence, you associate that with brilliance, genius. These are the engineers, who really make things happen in this entire world. And mind you, a lot of the IITians are actually brain drained out into all the other European or the Western countries. So IIT is brilliance, right? But I look at IIT from a different perspective. For me, the concept of IIT is a slightly different way of looking at it. And for me, it stands for imagine, innovate, and transform, right? Now, why imagine, why innovate, and why transform? If we are faced with a particular adversity or a situation, let's call it a job loss. It could be anything. Adversity has no definition. It could be practically anything. It could be the loss of a family member. It could be the loss of money, the loss of revenue, loss of business, practically anything, right? It's a variable equation that what we can look at. But I believe that this particular formula has helped me consistently, because imagine, innovate, and transform. The way it has helped me is it's a very simplistic formula. It does not really need you to have a master's or a PhD in any kind of a field. It just needs you to have A, common sense, and B, the attitude of positivity, right? Now, why I look at this particular formula is, why imagine? Because when you imagine, it is believed that whatever that you conceive in your mind is what you can achieve in reality, right? No great ideas have just come in the physical reality. They have come through some sort of imagination. That's the reason why I believe that art is extremely fundamental to every child's learning, because that's where we bring about the power of imagination. As we grow up, we let the child go and we start working in logic. We start working in hardcore rules and regulations, and we let the imagination go and fly out of the window. What happens because of that? If the imagination goes out of the window, we can't really conceive things, right? So we get hell beaten up by logic. So the logic is that, okay, if I'm not going to have a job, then how do I pay my diva, or Jason is here, how do I pay my seva bills, right? Now that's the practicality of it. But yes, it is something that you need to face and owe up to it. But if you have the imagination, if you have the ability, the power to create, it really doesn't stop you from conceiving things and bringing them into reality, into achieving. Why innovate? Because every adversity tells you what's not working. It tells you where you really stand. For example, practical purpose. If I have lost my job, it's because my company A does not need me, or B, I could not make my position strong enough for the company to keep me on, sustain me onto that, or C, it could be a factor which is beyond me, but it relates to my disability of not being able to portray my value to the company for the forthcoming future. It's simple as that. There's nothing personal between a company when you lose a job. It's not that they hate you and they want to get you out. No, it's simple. It's a skill set versus the availability, right? So let's not blame any HR people when they come up and say that, hey, you guys, you have lost your job. Well, it's their job. They're just simply doing their job, right? But what it means is we need to innovate. When we mean what we mean by innovate is we need to be able to consistently and constantly show a different side of ourselves to our organizations, to our people, to our families, to our society, to our environment. If you're not able to do that, you're not innovating, and you think that the idea that worked 20 years ago is still going to work, then you're selling fax machine in today's date. It's an absolute, incorrect way of looking at life. You need to innovate, because if you don't, somebody else will. Somebody else will, and they're going to take away your position. And it could literally mean, as a father to a daughter, very often the fathers of daughters have this problem that, oh, when a boyfriend comes to my daughter, what's going to happen? Well, that's innovation in a way, because the father is not able to consistently live up to the expectation of the daughter. So she needs to innovate, and she innovates. So it's a natural process. It's a natural way of life. And I think it's best that we accept and adapt and move on with it, right? Transform. What do you mean by transform? Transform in simple terms is literally to do a 360-degree change, is to, be what you were not. And that can only happen when you have the imagination and the innovation put together and you focus on working on doing it. 20 years ago, who would have ever thought that we could carry a camera or a phone? It was only in Star Trek, right, that we had those things on the wrist. In today's date, it's a reality. It's a transformation. We don't think now of the past 20 years back and say, hey, it would have been so fantastic if it was 20 years back and, we still didn't have the wrist. No, what we actually do is we adapt. We adapt to the environment and we transform ourselves into the environment. If I'm sure many of you are parents here and you have children, and children today are extremely adept and expert with WhatsApp or anything online, with Insta. If you tell them that, hey, are you on Insta or I'm on Facebook? The first thing that they look at you and tell you is, oh, your history. Because, Facebook is history. Instagram is the current one, the current trend, Spotify, Snapchat, and blah, blah, blah. What am I trying to say? The new generation is technologically well endowed. They have a lot of resources in hand. So for them, they are transforming the entire journey from where they are to what they need to be. It's for us, typically between those 25 to 50s, that we are stuck on, where we're kind of in the twilight zone, not sure what is right, not sure how to take it further. But that's what we really need to do. We need to imagine, innovate, and transform. So that's what I literally mean by the success by design. You create your own success. Don't wait for an opportunity to come to you. Imagine it, innovate on it, and transform yourself. Right? That could be possible, and that can be done with. It's irrespective and irrelevant to your income. You could create the income that you want. You could create the opportunity that you want. And most people have done that. Most successful people in life have used failures absolutely as their hotbed for imagination. They have used their difficulties for innovation. They have used their status quo to transform themselves, right? So this is what I believe as an IIT. Now, if you look at the left-hand side of the slide, now what I'm really talking about is, let's start with the failure is part of life. It's a cycle. It's a very vicious cycle, which I believe that actually, it has helped me personally into doing things where I am. When I say that failure is part of life, it's basically a very simple statement, just as it speaks, that failure is going to happen. We are going to face failure at some point of time in our life. We may have faced failures. We may have faced a lot of failures, which we probably don't talk about it, right? But failure is an essential, integral part of life. It's as important as probably breathing. Because if you don't have failure in your life, you're really not going to be able to expand your perceptions and your dimensions. As a child, when we started to walk, we failed because we fell down. As we grew up in teens, we failed because we could not get the marks or live up to the expectations of our parents. As a further teen, we failed because the girl that I wanted to get married to ended up marrying my neighbor. We failed. Eventually, I failed because the kind of job that I wanted to get into, I did not get the job. So we don't have to look at all of these as failures. These are just screaming and shouting at us, telling us, prepare. Preparation is your most important skill set. How do you prepare? You imagine, you innovate, you transform. That's basically what is preparation, right? The next part is failure is an opportunity. It is simply an opportunity turned inside out. It is not a destructive area of life. It is a constructive area of life. Failure is simply telling you that, hey, you failed, which means that you could do better. You could look at things in a different manner. It tells you that, guys, you have the ability to do something different. You have been following the traditional mindset. Get out of it, right? So that's basically what failure as an opportunity is. Next part, if you look at it, it says show no sympathy. No sympathy. Do not give yourself the sympathy of consistently telling yourself that, oh, I failed. Let me just go lie down on my couch, keep crying, and watch some of those old Hindi films, or watch anything that kind of helps me to be into depression, eat as much as I can. No, let it go. Absolutely let it go. I mean, that's an old mindset. That's what people did when they were depressed. We are not a generation of depression. We are a generation of information. We have so much of information around us. We have so much of motivation around us. I mean, step out of that groove, completely step out of that groove. Do not, by any means, do not show sympathy to yourself. You don't need sympathy. You only need empathy. Yes, I'm in a situation. That's empathy. That's awareness. Get the awareness and go back to your imagine, innovate, transformation, right? So sympathy, the moment you get into a sympathy, it is actually not going to allow you to bring out your skill set. If we believe in a power which is divine and above us, theoretically speaking, in that case, the moment you're in a situation like this, it could also be potentially, it could also be because this situation has been created to expose to your own self that, hey, you have the ability to do something much more. You're a great tailor, but you're spending your time, doing typing. Get out of it. Do something that makes you happy. Do something that is energizing you. Do something that's going to benefit you. If you have trained to be an engineer and if you are happy being a baker, well, go ahead. I mean, we all know the movie Three Idiots, right? What is it talking about? It's talking about pursuing your passion. I would just like to take it a little step further and say, get over that fear. You don't have to be into sympathy. Just like a sports person, be committed. Do not tell your body that, okay, I've worked hard today, so tomorrow I don't need to train. No, you need to train. You do need to train. And the same is with your mind, with your brain. You need to train. Consistently avoid sympathy. Do not talk much about the failure, because when you're talking to somebody about your failures, actually your mind is listening. So use the imagination and construct the failure saying that, hey, you know what? I'm actually on a vacation, or I did not lose my job, but I decided to take up another assignment and I'm kind of voluntarily off it. Or if you want to be sticking to the facts, if you're the kind of a person who likes to stick to facts, you can also say that I lost my job, but you know what? I'm working on a brilliant opportunity that's coming my way. I am the CEO of my life. Absolutely, literally, right? So in other things that what I learned from my mother is you basically focus and focus on all your positive traits. Focus on how you can benefit from them. Focus on how you can make the very traits that you have as a beneficial alignment. Focus on every bit of yourself, every element of yourself as to how it can benefit you, how it can make a difference to you and to your environment. Start with yourself first, how it can make a change to you and to your immediate family. Once you do that, what happens is you set yourself into a motion of transformation where it's very difficult to kind of go back, and reverse that process, right? And focus on the advantages, not on your deficits. Your deficits are not very important unless for example, you're aspiring to be a marathon runner and you feel that you don't have the ability, you want to develop on it. It is still not a deficit. It's a skill set that you want to work on, right? So let's not look at any kind of deficits. Stay hungry. Stay hungry is a dialogue that was created by Steve Jobs. It's a brilliant dialogue. He always said, stay hungry, stay foolish. When you stay hungry, it's a little term. If you go back to the monkey and the lion is not going to go and search for food if it's not hungry. It searches for food because it's hungry. If you're hungry, you're going to be curious. If you're hungry, you're going to be looking out for more information. If you're going to be hungry, you're going to be looking out for things that make you and that you make them, right? What is hungry? And stay hungry and curious to, as a lot of the gurus say that, see, being hungry, being curious basically helps us in making sure that we are focused on what we want. it's extremely important to know what we want. And that is in a way staying hungry, right? The next part is be disciplined to choose positivity. When I say be disciplined to choose positivity is make it a habit to consistently talk positive stuff. Make it a habit to always look at the positive side of situation. Make optimism as your habit, not pessimism as a default function. Make optimism as your habit, right? Because when you talk positive, what really happens is it drives failure out for sure, for 100% sure. It will drive failure out at some point of time. You just need to be prepared to give yourself the time and the commitment. Set examples by action. When we say set examples by action, again, when we are in a family, when we have our own family, very often what we do is imbibed by our own children, right? So if you do good, it is been put as karma, but if you do good, the good is going to come back to you. That's actually what we're looking at by setting examples by action. So we don't need an external motivator in our life. We don't need to really spend money on trying to figure out a great motivator, a great speech, or go into one of those transformation classes. No, because you are your own motivator. You are your own subtle guru in many ways, right? Make self-motivation as a disciplined habit. Train your mind to set goals, to achieve them, and then reset the goals for better incremental goals, which means that if I set a goal of achieving 10,000 steps in my walk today, and once I achieve it, well, you reset the goal, reset it to 12,000, to 15,000. It's only when you consistently and constantly challenge yourself and set that as an actionable goal is when you will see improvement in your life. Do not do it to please somebody else. Do it to please your own self. As I said, it's when you work on that area, the fear of failure just vanishes out. The fear that how am I going to achieve that 12,000 steps? No, you would actually, when you're at 15,000, you're going to sit back and laugh and say, well, that was a tough time when I started with 10,000, but you know what? I'm at 15,000 right now. And I always feel one thing, your own family is definitely going to look at you as their own motivation source. What I mean by that is very often our own spouses, our own partners, our own children, they happen to be our excellent critics. But what do? We find a fault with them. We tell them that, you're not supposed to say that, or you don't know what I'm going through, right? And then we enter into a state of an argumentative phase. But if we just stay silent, if we just stay focused, stay positive, and take every word that's going to come to us as a constructive criticism, it doesn't matter who the source is. It could be your laundrywala, it could be your son, it could be your wife, right? Treat each person as an equal stakeholder, and a family is a stakeholder because you are a CEO for your own organization. So your family is a stakeholder. In that sense, if you take the words from your critics and they are your best critics, take it in the right frame of mind, you're actually going to face a lot of things which you probably have left it behind in your subtle subconscious. Very often we hear our spouses telling us, get up and go and do exercise. Well, our body is telling us to do that, but we tell our spouse, what do you know? I'm in so much of tension. I don't have a job. I don't have an income, or I need to pay my bills. And how do you do that? And no, the point is that the sources are not important. The information is important. You've got the information. Take the information and again, work on the same IIT principle. Imagine, innovate, transform every area, practically every area. And then we will realize that, we really don't need to search for a guru outside. Very often we spend like a fortune searching for a guru outside. Well, it's within you. They're absolutely within you, around you. So use that for your own benefit, right? And you're not alone when you fail. Generally, we have this notion that, I failed, so the entire society is now going to laugh at me. They're going to look at me as a failure. Again, it's not the failure, it's the fear of failure, right? So you're not alone when you fail. In fact, there is a beautiful network of environment, of the network around you available. All you need to do is seek it, find it. And when you seek it and find it, that's when you participate in it. So today, when I look at this particular network that Jason and Shushma have created, I think that's a brilliant network. It's for all of us to seek it, to find it, and participate in it. I mean, that's exactly what Shushma said, that if you have experiences of your own, bring it. Don't keep it to yourself. We all want to learn out of it. We all see some benefit out of it, right? This discussion may not benefit probably the entire group of 256 people. It may probably benefit just one, but I'm happy with that. That's fantastic. At least that I've done some kind of a good job. So get out of your comfort bubble, get out of your zone, and try to fail in a new area, which basically means try to experiment with new things. There's nothing wrong in failure. There is absolutely nothing wrong in failure. Get the fear out and the failure becomes your best friend, right? So learn to fail in a new area, because the very art of understanding failure is absolutely the very gift of achieving success. That's one thing I sincerely believe in, right? So if you really look at it, the formula, the IIT formula, for me, that's kind of worked, right? Now, you have failed, so be happy about it. We don't have to cry about it. If we really look at it, it's okay to fail, but it's definitely not okay to stay down. If you have failed, that's fine, that's perfect. Get moving. Don't get into a self-pity mode. Do not get into a self-empathy mode, self-sympathy mode. It's not okay to stay down. It's necessary for you to upskill. It's necessary for you to improve. It's necessary for you to try and do things where you may be able to learning new skills, or give yourself, help somebody on a pro bono basis. Help somebody. When you help somebody, you get something back in return. It could be knowledge, convert that into wisdom, right? So failure is a perfect opportunity which is turned inside out, right? And if you see the last particular photo in that particular slide, it says try again, fail again, and fail better. That's exactly what I mean by summing it up, that you try, you fail, but fail better the next time. If you fail at the same thing again and again, then there is a fundamental design drawback. You need to go back to the design board. But if not, if you're failing every time in a new area, in a new opportunity, it just means you're bold and brave and you are willing to take the risk in your life. And that's really what it is. And if I look at some of the very successful failures, I mean, these are the very successful failures whom we all know about, right? Dr. APJ Kalam. I don't know if many other people know that Dr. APJ Kalam, when he first was launching his rocket in the 1979, if the year is correct, August 17th, I remember the date. 4 minutes down to the countdown, and one of the computers resulted back stating that your satellite is not going to work. It's completely conked off. They had to cancel the mission. And then a press conference was called by the then head of the mission, which is Professor Satish Dhawan. And Professor Dhawan actually took the entire responsibility of the failure on his head. But he told Abdul Kalam that you need to go back to the drawing board, take this as an opportunity. And he actually used that as an opportunity to turn it around, and India launched its first satellite after that. And ever since, we haven't looked back. And that particular rocket, the next year when it was launched, it went clockwork. It not only carried 40 satellites, it also carried a lot of substation processes, which are very important from a space and orbit point of view. Mary Com, we've all seen the movie of Mary Com. We know her pretty well. She came from a nobody, suffered humiliation, suffered failure, suffered defeat, was not accepted in many of the boxing bouts, was rejected by the Indian team often for various reasons. We'll not get into the reasons, but she did not let the failure put her down. She took it as an opportunity to work on her, rework, retrain, and she used the same concept. Imagine, innovate, transform. Today, where she stands, today we see Mary Com as one of the most proud members of the Indian sports diaspora. We have not seen her journey, but that's actually what it is telling us. Steve Jobs, a person who had no place to stay and was eating his food out of a Hindu temple in United States. But look at what he's created. Today, the legacy by way of which we swear that Apple is the design landmark that the benchmark that we could think of, right? Converted failure into, I don't think it's success, it's probably astounding success. And the last but not the least, Mr. Bean. We all know him, the most famous comedian, born with the dyslexic mindset. Born with the dyslexic physical deformity, physical situation, had a learning difficulty, was told umpteen number of times that you forget being an actor, you can't even probably go to high school. Eventually, what did he do? He converted his own difficulty into the most beautiful asset. He converted his disability to speak clearly into a concept of Mr. Bean, where his whole series does not talk, but he acts, right? That's where they have used every bit of failure as an opportunity to convert into successes. And if you look at it closely, if you follow these people and take many other examples, if you see the formula has pretty much been the same. Imagine, innovate, transform. And that's what they did. And it's kind of worked well for a lot of people, right? So if you look at this picture, it basically states the same thing. Imagine, innovate, and transform. In this case, imagine and innovate. I look at Yoda. Look at him. Brilliant, right? What is he trying to tell us? That you need to innovate. Because when you innovate, that's your journey to success, is through the achieving successful failures. And, IIT is just one way to do the same. I'm not saying it's 100% sure formula, but it's just one way. It has worked in many cases. And I guess I would be happy to share it out with you. Right, so that's what it is. Now, I think I would like to call it quits here, but I would want to say that if I have motivated at least one person in this group to fail successfully, and does successfully navigate failure, in which case, I mean, I'll take a question after that, but at least if one person tells me that they feel motivated, then I think I'll send my bill to Jason and Chushma for this particular conference or discussion. But just kidding. No, I mean, the bottom line is that I think if I have been able to convert at least one person successfully, then I think very proudly I will say that I have failed successfully, right? That's where I would like to call it quits. So for questions. Thank you.
Wow, that was so profound. Thank you, Yogesh. That was really great. Jason, would you like to share something before I share? Please go ahead.
Yeah, talking from a different angle, this is such a great honor to have Yogesh on board, because success for me was success and failures for me was failures, and combining these two, when we were talking about the theme of the webinar, I was also not very sure how could we go about things like combining these two successful failures. And Yogesh was the first person to tell it seems good, because what we are going through and his personal experiences is that he can relate to it more easily. So that's what we have heard here. And the whole concept of what he was talking today, the group's aim, the group's vision, and the group's mission is also about this. If anybody has a problem for speaking, you can come here and speak, and if you fail, we are together with you to make you a better speaker. So that's what we are trying to communicate to the people, all the 256 or 234 members out here in the WhatsApp group and the LinkedIn and Facebook as well. You come here in a common platform, and you get motivated like the speakers which we are bringing on a daily basis. And Yogesh, thanks a lot for bringing the concept of IIT. Innovation doesn't stop; it continues, and personal experiences for me are there, because when I was backed out on many grounds, especially in a professional career, it like there is for example, I'm an internal auditor for working for an organization, so there is a group of internal auditors who are actually certified internal auditors, who are actually CAs, chartered accountants. So they look at a different angle of business financially. So when I try to interfere, I'm not a certified CA, but still when I try to interfere in the internal auditing job as such, I am set apart, so I am set apart from those kind of activities, and it's only for the CAs to do this job. You cannot do this job, and such things comes up. So what I do is I try to innovate. I try to innovate my things in, and even though I'm not so financially strong, I go into technical, dig deep, and especially in the utility business, I learn about technical aspects of machines, and then I draw a different concept. So what I do is there innovate. So whatever failures people are trying to impose on me, I innovate my stuff, and then I bring in changes to the organization. So this is what as a personal experience which I want to share right now. I think all the people who have joined here have a lot of experiences to share. Thanks a lot, Yogesh, from my side. Thank you a lot. Thank you a lot.
I would love to hear more experiences.
Sure.
So the floor is open. If anyone wants to ask any question or share your experiences, share the feedback, the floor is open. Please raise your hand and let me know. We can definitely take your questions. Now, from my side, Yogesh, I loved the session very much. The first picture of lion and monkey, it kind of took us on a ride, and
that was the whole idea.
Yeah, and the way you explained it was really great. I have taken the notes down. The story of your mother is really, really profound. It's very motivating. The examples you gave, like Three Idiots movie, or you gave an example of steps, like 10,000, 12,000 steps. That and I love examples, by the way. So I love when you can relate to those. Then your points like focus on your abilities, be the CEO of your life, imagine, innovate, and transform the formula, IIT formula. Start all with yourself first. Failure is the way to say that do things differently. Stay hungry and curious. Talk positive, take action. Self-motivation, constructive feedback. These are the great points which I could take from today's session and share the knowledge. Experiment new things. That was really great. I loved it. So yeah, overall the session was very mesmerizing, and I have a question for people who are on the floor. As a job seeker, when HR asks you, what was your failure? What is your weakness? How would you answer to that? Just a question that came to my mind when we were going through this presentation of yours.
It's a very interesting question. I mean, before somebody answers, let me answer that, at least from my viewpoint. In my life, I mean, I've seen that I have lost jobs quite a few times, right? But the good part is that I've lost jobs for the right reasons. So when somebody asks me that, okay, what happened? Why did you lose your job? And my first answer to them is, how is that relevant to you? Are you hiring me for failure, or are you hiring me for success? So if you're hiring me for success, I really don't think that you want to know what my failures were. What you want to know is, how did I handle my failures, right? So what I do is I convert that question from something which is aimed at me to more of what I have done. So that allows me to showcase my abilities. That's something that I have used, and I have actually been able to demonstrate that each adversity in my life, each difficulty in my life, has actually forced me to kind of innovate, has forced me to think and look at different things, look at different ways of doing things. So each failure has actually been a way for me to look at the innovation, to look at imagination, to look at transformation, again, on the same formula as such. But however I've handled it, that's where I would spend more time on. How did I handle it? Because that actually shows you, I mean, if you're an HR, and I think you're an HR person, right? If you're an HR person, that's what you would be more interested in. You don't want to know why I failed. What you would want to know is, what did I do in order to handle that failure? What did I learn out of it? That's more important, right? So that's my answer.
Thank you, Yogesh. That was really great. Any more questions anybody would like to ask or share feedback? Anything?
Actually, okay. I would like to hear from somebody else as to the same question what you asked. How did they handle failure?
Takyuddin has raised his hand. Yes, please.
Yeah. Actually, it is not question. The point you raised that regarding job loss, that is one of the fantastic one, because recently, in the time of COVID-19, I went for an interview. It was very hopeful, and I thought I will get it. I took it very easily, and one of the best position, and I took it granted. I thought it is okay, it is simple. But unfortunately, I didn't get that. I didn't go that interview, but I thought might be some reason I didn't like expected. I performed well. I was confident. But what I understood after that, I got, if I am joined there, I will be more busy. I couldn't do anything. But in these days, after that, I got lots of opportunities to learn more on the sessions. Different like this community, so many community I joined. I tried to learn many things. So I think it is a great opportunity. I just to try to innovate in this all these times. I got a lot of my current job is so relaxed. I can do many things. So I think it is a good opportunity to innovate, to learn more. We can update ourselves. I think I updated a lot.
Perfect.
So that is a great. But I was so sad in that. I was thinking why it is right? What is the reason? So, but still, I just tried to. I didn't disclose anyone. As you said, it was I took it as an opportunity. So
fantastic.
It was very nice to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you for that perception in that.
Thank you, Taki. Okay. Next, Shazil has raised his hand. Shazil, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi everybody.
Hello.
Yeah, so I have a question to Mr. Yogesh. So, like during this COVID-19, like what is the thing we should do? Like, from the lot of youngsters are losing hopes. No, we are not getting opportunities. So, do we like pause and see and wait for this, like, how to deal, or should we like, we are confused. Now, how to deal with this situation? The
Okay.
opportunities.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. First thing, what I would advise you to do, or rather recommend you to do, is in a situation like this, take your mind off the job search. I know it sounds very difficult, especially if you have a family to support and if you have people around you looking at you consistently. It's very difficult to take your mind off the job and the worry. But when you consciously focus on taking your mind off, what really happens is that is actually where your innovation happens. If you see, most of the inventions that have been there have come to people at the time when they least expected it. Now, there is a scientific reason behind it. The reason is very simple. When you're thinking, when you're focused on a specific part, what happens is that your brain now assimilates all its energy into focusing on that specific segment. So if I'm worried that, let's go back to the picture of the lion and the monkey. If I'm the monkey and I'm going to be worried that what if the lion is going to react and going to bite me back, right? This is typically where I am. I've lost my job. The lion is my new interviewer, or the lion is a complete, a bundle of things which I need to pay my bills from. I need to answer to my family, relatives. See, sometimes all of these matters, right? And what you need to do in the first place is get your mind off it. Completely get your mind off it. I mean, don't focus on finding the job. Instead, try to first take an inventory analysis of who you are, what makes you happy, what is it that is actually going to give you, the feel of feeling good at the end of the day. See, we all go to jobs, not necessarily that we are happy in our jobs, right? The job that I have enjoyed so far is in the job of innovation. Now, that is beautiful because every day is a new day for me, right? Every day we are doing something new, right? And the best part is I'm being paid to think creatively. I'm being paid to make mistakes. So let's look at it this way. So if you take off your mind of the focus of getting into the job and instead focusing on who you are, what makes you happy, you will eventually realize that there are areas that you have not explored. Once you realize that these are the areas that you have not explored, then try to look at it as to what is it that you can do to upskill yourself, to get yourselves up to that particular point. If, for example, it means that you have to learn data science and data science is not affordable for you at this particular point of time, not a problem. Go on. Today, we are in an age where there's a lot of information that's freely available on Google or on any other platform. Pick up the information, acquaint yourself, right? Over a certain period of time, you will realize whether that is fascinating to you or it just felt that it would fascinate you. So once you start doing this exercise repeatedly over and over again on yourself, you'll come to a point where you truly know who you are, you truly understand what you want. Once you understand what you want, in my experience, then getting the job is not at all difficult. You will get the job very easy because by that time you're confident about who you are. You will start sending your CVs to the places which matter. Otherwise, the general formula is send 25,000 CVs in 1 month and somebody is going to look at it. Then you're going to get some job. If you're happy with some job and somebody's going to look at you, then you're going to get some salary. You're not going to make what you want to make. So get off that track. It needs you to kind of go back, change your fundamental concept. It needs you to be brave, to be very honest, but it also needs you to go back to the same IIT. I mean, you are into the University of IIT. You're brilliant by yourself. You have something in you which you probably have not explored so far. So that's all that you would want to do. So take an inventory is what I would say.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Shazil. That was a great question. Okay, anyone else? I don't see anybody. I would just say, even I have been through this. Jason knows. I had also lost my job, and trust me, we were 6 of us asked to leave from our department, and I was the only one who went back to my desk and announced everyone that, guys, I'm asked to leave, so I'm leaving. Please stay in touch. And I didn't leave after that. Okay, I went to the restaurant nearby with my some friends who are very close to me from other departments as well. I had called them, and we had lunch and we spoke. We were sitting there for 2 hours, and then I left. I had some bank things to finish. I finished that. After that, I came home and I informed my husband, my sister, my brother, everyone. Till then, I didn't tell anyone as well. Said, let me reach home, and then face to face, when I say, it's different. And after that also, I was not at all sorry, I was not at all worried. I was always positive, though for few minutes, few moments, I felt like, after working for an organization for 13 years, this is not what I deserve, but it's fine. It's corporate life. Life moves on. So it's definitely fair. Just concentrate on what you want. As Yogesh said, analyze. And even when I was searching for a job, I was associated with the group called Dubai Jobs Hunt, and I'm still volunteering that group. Though I was without job, I used to still post jobs in the group. I used to help people with their CV if they needed reformation, and that was all without any expectations. So it's definitely, you can add value to others at any point of time. So just
Absolutely.
stay positive. Yes.
Before concluding, Sushma, one of the things which I was motivated to start this group is because of Sushma itself, because she is the one, even after losing the job, she was connected with so many other platforms that I didn't feel that she lost the job. Basically, I didn't. She's so strong in herself that she was connected with every kind of networking platforms, every kind of job platforms. Even now, she is doing voluntary work as well. So her motivation and dedication was the sole purpose of starting this group, and that's why this group is, I would say, a successful failure till now.
Good. I like that. I like that. That's nice to hear.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, Thaki has raised his hand.
Sure.
So one more thing, even though we know these things, but still in the first instance of failure, we will feel sad now, something. So how we'll manage that moment? In the first instance, as an emotional being, we'll feel sad or something lost. So that moment is very crucial. How we need to manage that one?
Okay. So you see, when we lose a particular person in our life, what happens? We have a process called grieving, right? If we lose a particular, let's say we lose a parent or we lose a friend or whatever, we go into a phase of grieving. The grieving phase is needed. Now, the grieving phase is extremely essential and crucial, because the grieving phase is where your brain is now actually taking all sorts of information. Bear in mind, the brain has gone into a shock state when you have heard that word that you have lost your job, right? Or you've lost someone, right? It's as good as that. So it has gone into a state of shock. Now, in that state of shock, it depends upon each individual's, the way they have raised, the way they have seen experiences in life, the way they have handled themselves so far, is what will determine their reaction to it. So if you go back to Shushma's reaction, what did she do? She had a grieving, but it was for a very brief period, probably for a couple of hours, where her way of, accepting the grief was to go out and celebrate. So you do basically whatever you need to do to grieve, but don't get stuck in the grief. If you get stuck in the grief, then what you're doing is you're not letting your brain to start thinking constructive and creative. You're going to remain into that zone of grief. So you grieve. If you see in many of our religions, we have certain principles which are created where we have a grieving and a mourning period. Why is that there? The grieving and mourning period is there so that it reminds you to say that, okay, Mr. X and X is no longer there. He's departed. And then the body is gone. So that's finished. You got to get out of your grieving period then and move on with your life. It's the same way. So when you lose a job or when you face a situation, to answer your question, Thaki, if you face something like that, the grieving period is normal. It's natural. Don't disallow yourself that grieving period, because if you disallow yourself, you're going to be into a hallucination stage of believing that life is fantastic and rosy. It's not. It's going to be difficult. Instead of that, grieve it, accept it, let it go, and then IIT. As simple as that. Okay, make sense?
Yes, super.
Okay, perfect.
And I am also into that principle, Yogesh. Thank you for bringing this up. It's definitely it's definitely okay to cry. It's definitely okay to feel sad. But it's just that you need to come out of it.
It's human,
Be whatever
right?
the situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, various times I've seen where people tell me that, hey, you're a male, you're not supposed to cry. And I'm like, okay, let go of that stereotype. No, as a male, it's quite okay to cry. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to be, feel like one of the agony aunties and go pour it onto somebody else. It's part of life. But don't get attached to it. Get over it. That's the whole point. We need to get over it. And so that's why I keep saying, sometimes our spouses or our children are the best critics, because they will ask us a question which we often feel it is stupid, but in actually they are just a reflection for us. They're telling us, they're giving us an opportunity to get out of it, to get out of that grieving phase. So it's okay, you lost your job, no big deal. Hundreds of people lose their jobs. It's absolutely no big deal. Don't waste your time sitting and thinking about it. How am I going to do the next step? Instead of that, get to action, right? And the best way to get to action is sit down, analyze, take an inventory, and IIT. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, going forward, I would like to welcome Miss Shirley also to this group. She was actually one of our founder members, and she was there from the first time when we used to meet offline direct meetings. She is a member of BNI, and I would be privileged to ask her if she could share something experiences of her relating to this topic. Yeah, Shirley, you can unmute. Sushma, you can unmute her. Yeah.
Hi everyone, and thank you, Jason, and thank you, Sushma, for having me here. And Yogesh, it was wonderful to hear you. It was really motivational, and I'm sure you got this whole motivational thing from your mom. She must be very inspiring lady, right?
She is.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story that you narrated. So with my experience. I'm running a business of corporate gifts, and we did face a situation like how you said during the COVID times. Our business came to a standstill, and I really didn't know what to do, how to move on further, because ours is directly related to events, and events came to a complete standstill. So then we tried, like how you mentioned the IIT. We try to think over what to do next. So we kind of try to produce or try to manufacture things that we could do here. And so we came up with new products and new techniques of marketing and new techniques of business. So this is what we've been trying all these months for the past 3 months. And it's moving in a positive way. We met. So I'm a part of BNI chapter here, and we have this networking events every week, and we gather from every sector of businesses, and we refer people. We refer businesses to each other, and it is kind of motivational in terms of we put in our ideas and we take ideas as well, and this is what motivated and this is what kept pushing us to go day by day. So for me, I took it as I took each day, each whatever comes in as a package in that day, I took that day, I built it up, and I moved forward to the next day. So I just took step by step process in terms of building my business, in terms of creating new ideas and working towards it. So so the past 3 months I've been working on that and still moving forward.
Excellent. So you've actually just applied the whole concept in reality, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Super.
So it comes to you naturally, as in I'm basically a fashion designer. So I have done designing and I used to supply to boutiques here. And it so happened that I didn't have a license when I started that, and I had to take a break from it. And that motivated me to come into another source of business. And again, it was garments designing. And then somehow it didn't take off well. So I didn't stop from there. It kind of moved or shifted from that to corporate gifts. And that continued for over 5 years and became a part of BNI. And again, that was a boost to my business. And again, after 5 years, it's come to a standstill again. But we are, again, I'm still innovating over the experience that I had and trying to build it up on that.
So I have a question, Shirley, in that case. If you, Jason, do we have time? Okay, so I have a question. You come from the fashion design background.
That's
You've
right.
actually done the innovation and the transformation processes pretty much, right? In application, let's put it this way. How important do you think is imagination?
Very important.
Why?
That's where everything starts from. Unless you imagine, nothing can be created. So imagination is the root of everything. And that's where you have to create and build it up. That's when, after you build it up, that's when you transform that into something. The output comes after that.
Okay, so
After
would
you
I be
transform
right?
it.
You know, Shazil had asked a question earlier. So would I be right in actually stating that to Shazil that using your own imagination, you basically create your own reality?
Yes, you do.
Because that's what I see what you did. You kind of created your own reality and you're living it, right? You did not let the adversity stop you.
No.
So that's
so
brilliant.
it will automatically come to the reality, yeah, because you will imagine what is there, because you know what you're capable of.
Right.
So your imagination comes from what you can do. So always when you imagine, you think of the best possible things that you are capable of, right? Yeah. So then that is what builds you to the next step.
Right.
So
And
I guess,
do we have any restrictions on imagination?
Well, I don't. No, I guess it depends on each person to
I'm
person.
sorry, it's a
but
little
I don't
political
have.
question, but the whole
I
reason of
don't.
asking is, because very often I've seen that, for example, personally, I always wanted to be a school teacher or a college professor, right?
Okay.
And whenever I'm bored and I have time, I play this imagination game of visualizing myself as a school teacher or as a college professor.
Right.
And it's fun. It kind of gives me a lot of comfort. It allows me to teach to an imaginary audience. It allows me to have a lot of problem solving sessions and whatnot. But the bottom line that I learned out of this over the last so many years, and I think Jason would agree to it, because in our industry of supply chain management, imagination, we give it a different word. We call it simulation, right? We run simulated practices. So when you are running a simulation, it's basically talking about imagination into a very applied, concrete, structured way of looking at it. But I think if we have the ability to imagination, and that's a gift we are all blessed with, if we can go and imagine to whatever extent that we want to, absolutely to whatever extent that we want to, it's only then that the reality can achieve. I mean, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, I'm sure when he was selling cup of tea, he did not imagine himself to be a tea seller for the rest of his life. He imagined himself to be a prime minister at some point of time. Probably at that age, that time, people would have called it absurd. But in today's date, we say it's a brilliant job. Einstein, when he came up with a lot of concepts, Einstein, even there is another famous scientist called Friedrich Nietzsche. All of them, they use the power of imagination. So if you're into fashion designing and you would understand Sadis Art Marquis or Vera Wang or Ralph Lauren, they have used their entire power of imagination to bring up concepts which today what we call as reality. So in short, I mean, if I really look at it, is they use their power of imagination to create the reality that they wanted. So going back to Shazil, if the young generation today is lost without a job, they should use this time consciously, whether we call it meditation, non-meditation, dreaming, daydreaming, whatever we want to call it. That's left up to the individual. But if you can use that power of creative visualization, I think you can achieve that into reality. Nothing stops us, right?
Yes.
There is no limit to that.
Firstly, I don't think you should listen to somebody who says you can't do something.
Agreed.
you are not capable to do something, or that's a mental blockage. So once you have that taken off from your head, I think there is nothing in the world that can stop you.
Right. Perfect. Makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Any feedback, please?
I think it's time to wind up. Everybody's
Yeah.
yeah.
And we don't see anybody raising their hand.
Yeah, true.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Thanks for letting me in and giving me this opportunity. And next week, I'm looking forward to something better. And, IIT, go on with the IIT. Simple as that.
Yes. Thanks, Yogesh. Thanks again
All right.
for
Sure.
coming in.
Yeah, upgrading ourselves
Thanks,
is
Yogesh.
definitely in, and we should always be open to learn and keep working on it. That's
Totally.
it. That's what will make us stand out, probably.
True. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Yogesh. Thank you,
Jason.
Susan.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. See you.
Bye.